hesitation, containment. The thing wore its composure like a skin that no longer fit.
We bring tidings.
Its voice did not rise. It settled into the stone.
Not of joy, not of mercy.
The second moved. One measured step. Red silk whispered across the floor. Horns caught the fractured light of the glass above, colors bending where they should have held.
The Lord of Darkness draws near.
The words did not echo. They remained. Then, its gaze shifted, not to the room, not to the kneeling, past Kane, into the corridor, where the dark did not sit empty. Something stood there, unannounced, unclaimed, not part of the design. The emissary stilled. For the first time, calculation, a hairline fracture.
Thou dost not walk alone.
The smile returned. Wrong. Measured. Reapplied.
How fitting.
A breath.
To bring witness to the end of thy line.
Its eyes burn now, not with fury, but with the need to reassert what had already begun to slip.
Mercy is not a virtue of thine kind, Puritan.
A beat.
Yet thou wouldst share thy doom.
Silence tightened. Kane did not turn, did not acknowledge the presence behind him. His blade held steady. White fire coiled along the steel, not flaring, not fading, simply there. When he spoke, it did not break the moment. It ended it. Is it cowardice that holds thy tongue? A step forward, measured, final. Or is the Lord of Darkness afraid of my blade? The words struck. Not loud, not sharp. Certain. The composure shattered. No mask, no cadence. Only truth forced through a narrowing throat.
You cannot stop the morning star.
The stranger emerged from the shadows, and a heavy silence fell. The vortex took him, not with the violence of theft, nor with the cruelty of a blade that leaves its mark in blood and memory, but as the sea takes the shore, relentless, patient, and complete. It stripped him not of possessions, but of sequence, of weight, of the slow accumulation of years that make a man believe he stands upon something whole. Solomon Kane felt it all pass through him, every road, every reckoning, every night where prayer was cast upward and was answered, or not. He had lived long enough to know the difference. He braced himself for judgment. It did not come. What moved through him was not accusation nor absolution, but record. A ledger neither praised nor condemned, only endured. It flowed through his being as a river carves through hard country, untroubled by stone, unburdened by what it touches, answering only to its own direction. Where he had once expected the crushing hand of righteousness to fall, demanding balance, demanding confession, there was only a stillness. Not mercy, not forgiveness. Recognition, as though whatever waited at the terminus of all roads had already measured him in full, weighed him without haste, and found no fault in his will. Then the vortex closed, not as a door closes, as a hand delivers, and Solomon Kane returned. He remembered fragments, nothing more. Cold, not the emptiness of void, but the living cold of water that has known mountains and long winters. The scent of pine resin, sharp and clean. Earth, dark and ancient beneath it. A sky of dull pewter, low and without promise. Then a face. Close, brown, severe, unmoving. The face of a man who had outlived softness. Feathers stirred faintly in the grey light above him, catching what little day there was. Eyes fixed upon Kane, not with fear nor with welcome, but with the stripped clarity of one who has learned that survival lies not in haste, but in knowing what stands before you. The mouth moved. White man. A pause, not of doubt, but of weighing. Something passed in those eyes then, something inherited, something expected, and something else that rose to meet it and held. Not of the devil. No emphasis, no wonder, only statement. The world folded, sky, face, river, scent, all drawn inward, collapsing into a place where neither memory nor thought could follow. And Solomon Kane passed beyond road and reckoning into a silence that bore no shape. He woke on the third day. The dwelling held him, hide walls drawn tight against a wind that spoke only outside. Smoke gathered in the upper dark, slow and patient, as if it too understood its place. The fire at the center burned low, not neglected, not decorative, but kept, fed with the discipline of a people who did not mistake flame for comfort, but for covenant. He lay upon dressed skins. Cedar and age clung to them. His coat had been folded beneath his head. His rapier lay beside him, placed, not discarded, with care. Kane's hand found it before his breath steadied. Fingers closed around the grip, not in fear, but in recognition. Whoever had brought him here understood what a blade was, and what it meant to leave it within reach. He did not rise at once. He took account, not as a wounded man does, but as one who has long known that flesh is a tool, and tools must be measured before they are trusted. He was alive. He was whole. He was not where he had been. That was sufficient. He turned his head. The chieftain sat by the fire, cross-legged, still, watching. Not with the restless curiosity of youth, nor with the guarded hostility of one who expects treachery, but with the patience of a man who has watched winters devour the careless and enemies exhaust themselves upon his silence. Age had not diminished him. It had refined him. The years had burned away all that was excess, leaving only what endured. What remained sat before Kane now with the density of ironwood and the certainty of stone that has never been moved. He said nothing. He did not announce his presence. He did not explain his watch. He simply observed, as one who has learned that truth reveals itself without invitation. Kane pushed himself upright. The fire gave a low hiss. Beyond the walls a bird called once, sharp, uncertain, and then fell quiet, as though reconsidering the act. "You spoke," Kane said. His voice was rough, unused. "At the river, you said." "White man," the chieftain replied. No change in tone, no shift in posture. "Not of the devil." He regarded Kane as one might regard a mark already carved. "I have spoken this of no white man before you. I will speak it of none after." Kane held his gaze. "What gave you such certainty?" The old warrior's eyes dropped briefly to the rosary coiled at Kane's chest, then rose again. It was not the beads he had read. Kane knew this as surely as he knew the weight of his own hand. Symbols lie. Men do not, when they are stripped of the need to be believed. "The unconscious does not speak falsely," the chieftain said. A pause. His eyes held Kane's. "The white fire of the Great Spirit still burned about thee." Another breath. He did not look away. "The skin of the world parted above the river." The words came as record, not wonder. "Not as storm parts the sky, nor as earth yields to flood, but as a wound opens in flesh that does not know it can be cut." The fire gave a low shift. No sound came, no wind. The trees did not move. The river did not rise to meet it. A pause. "And from that opening thou wast cast." No weight added, no change in tone. Not falling, not thrown, returned. His gaze did not leave Kane. "The water took thee."
The sky closed. The world made no memory of it.
A final breath.
But I saw.
The fire shifted. Between them, the silence settled. Not empty, but held, as though something had already been decided, and neither man had been asked. The chieftain's hand moved across the fire, unhurried, deliberate, a motion without claim in it, a man returning what had passed through his keeping, and no further. A pouch, small, worn smooth at the seams, the leather darkened by years that did not belong to the hand that bore it. Kane took it. He turned it once in his palm, loosened the cord. The coins within caught the fire. He did not count them. He had no need. It was not the number that held him, but the mark. Each face struck with a precision no mint of Christendom had ever known. No king's die, no empire's seal, not Roman, not Greek, not Phoenician, no sign that lived in the libraries of men. Older. The word came as such things come, not summoned, not reasoned, arriving whole, older than all of it. Then not thought, but knowing. He was here. Kane sat with it. The fire spoke nothing. The chieftain watched without movement. He put these in my coat, before the shore, before the river, before the fall. He closed his hand on the pouch, looked up. The chieftain's gaze had not altered. It held the same lean patience it had held by the river's edge. No question in it, no ceremony offered, no shape forced upon what had no name. Kane drew from the pouch and set coin on the earth near the chieftain. "A horse," he said, "and provisions. 10 days. Hard country." The old warrior gave a single nod. The fire shifted. A wind moved across the land outside. Kane heard it. Without thought, he stepped out, rapier at his side, held at ease. They were already there, every soul among them, gathered in the open ground before the lodges in the last of the evening light. Not assembled, not summoned, not arranged by any instruction Kane could read. Simply present. The way a people are present when they have already decided what something means and no longer need to discuss it. He knew at once he was the subject of it. 3 days he had lain insensible in the chieftain's lodge. The account had passed among the Normkeg as truth passes among those who have no need to adorn it. Quietly, completely. By the second morning, all knew. By the third, none spoke of it. Not because it had diminished, but because it had passed beyond speech, into fact, into the category of things that require no further discussion, only witness. So they stood, not with fear, not with reverence performed for its own sake, with the strict attentiveness of a people who have lived long enough beside the unseen to know that some arrivals are not accidents. Kane held their gaze and let it hold him. Then he spoke. "What people are you?" The chieftain had followed him out without sound, at Kane's shoulder before he turned. A pause that held nothing of hesitation.
Nomkeg.
The word entered the cold air and did not dissolve. Something moved through Kane then. Not memory, not recognition. Something quieter than both. A displacement so slight it had no edge, like a compass that finds no north and turns without answer. The air was correct in all its parts. Pine, cold, wood smoke, river stone, the damp of recent rain pressed into dark earth. And yet, it did not belong to any hour he had lived through. He had crossed the Atlantic. He knew the New World's rawness, the way it resisted European sense. He had known that strangeness before. This was not that. This lay beneath the surface of things, the way cold lies beneath still water, present, patient, waiting for the hand that reaches too deep. Something is not as it should be. Not corruption. Not the dark signature of the things he had spent his life opposing. Simply displaced. As though the world had continued without him and had not thought to mark the interval. The urgency came without theater. No vision, no voice. Only the certainty that the road was not here. That whatever had been set before him began at the water's edge. And the water's edge was not this fire, not this gathering, not this people who had received him without question and asked nothing in return. He turned. The chieftain was already in motion, one hand lifted, unhurried, certain. A brave stepped away from the stillness and was gone. The camp did not stir. Kane held where he stood. The wind moved in the pines. The brave returned. A horse, dark, compact, built low for country that does not forgive. Its breath clouded in the cold. Behind it, provisions bound with the economy of those who understand that what a man carries must earn its weight, or be the death of him. Kane went to the horse. His hand passed along its neck. Not sentiment, contact. The beginning of an understanding between two things about to depend upon each other in hard country. The horse did not pull away. He checked the fastenings, the weight, the balance. It was sufficient. He mounted. The chieftain's gaze moved east. A gesture so slight it was barely a gesture at all. The chin lifted a fraction. The eyes found their direction and held it, not pointing, not instructing, simply indicating.
Salem,
He said. One word, without color. Kane did not answer. He held the name where he held things that required no haste. The chieftain had spoken no word in 3 days that had proven to be anything other than exactly what it was. He was not a man who dressed language. What he said was what stood. Kane turned the horse, looked once to the dark line of the pines, touched it forward. The trees closed about him. The Nomkeg remained in their evening stillness. They watched him go and did not call after him, did not shift, did not look away. The chieftain did not come to the threshold. He had no need. He had already seen this departure at the river 3 days before. The dark took Kane whole, and the road gathered him back into its keeping without remark. He rode into Salem on the second day, as the last light left the sky. The town had drawn itself inward for the night, as Puritan settlements do, not with boated fear, but with the deliberate withdrawal of those who keep a boundary between the Lord's day and the dark that follows it. Shutters closed, fires banked, the streets empty and cold, carrying wood smoke, mud, and the salt edge of the harbor on a light wind from the east. He followed that wind. The wharf took shape at the foot of a slope, timber planked, soundly built. Lanterns burned along the dock, their light breaking across the water. 3 vessels rode at anchor. Beyond them, the Atlantic ran east without interruption, toward a world he knew. One man moved on the dock, broad, heavy. The weight of appetite, not labor. He worked the manifest by lantern, with the care of one who trusted numbers, because they did not argue. Kane dismounted, tied the horse. He was 3 paces from the harbor master when he saw them. A woman, a boy. They stood at the edge of the lantern's reach. The woman spoke, low, precise, accented. Hungarian or near enough. The boy stood beside her, hands at his sides, his face held in a stillness that did not belong to his years. Kane stopped. He listened. A husband gone, Hungary, family waiting, no money. The harbor master listened as well, but not to her words. His eyes had already moved past them, measured her face, her figure, the line of her shoulders held under strain. Kane had seen that look before, the kind that turns need into a bargain, the kind that waits for the moment when refusal becomes impossible. He stepped forward. "What is the cost of passage to Bristol?" he said. "For myself, and for the woman and her son." The harbor master looked at him. The calculation shifted. He named a price. Kane drew 3 coins from the pouch and set them upon the manifest. The harbor master's eyes dropped to them. Something altered in his face. Recognition without understanding. He did not pursue it. He made his mark, produced the papers, held them out. Kane took them. His eyes moved over the document and stopped. The 17th day of October in the year of our Lord 1649. The harbor remained, the lanterns, the dark water, the woman and the boy. All of it continued without him for a moment. He had left in 1592. 57 years. Not lost, past. The world had continued without him, had gathered its years without pause, had arrived here without once accounting for the man who had stepped out of one century and into another. He folded the paper, placed it inside his coat, turned to the woman. She watched him, not with gratitude, but with measure. He met her gaze. "I ask nothing," he said. She held his eyes a moment, then nodded once. Kane looked to the boy. The boy returned his gaze, and something in Kane shifted. Not the cold signal he knew, not the full dark he had faced in ruined places. Something earlier, unformed. A note set wrong in an otherwise sound piece, too slight to name, too present to ignore. He said nothing. He turned back to the harbor. 3 vessels rode at anchor, the Covenant among them, low, patient, answering only to wind and tide. 3 days. He had not lived this long by disputing what his instincts told him. He lived by moving with them. The lantern light moved across the water. The boy stood in the dark. And Solomon Kane, 57 years removed from the world he had left and 3 days from a ship bound east, stood at the edge of the light and waited.
The journey's arriving now. Faith is fulfilled.